Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our lay-led summer services at First Unitarian Church. My name is Adam Lunter, and I am a new member of your worship committee. Very glad to see all of you here this morning. I especially want to welcome any newcomers or visitors. And if you are new to our congregation, please take a moment to fill out a newcomer form found at the link in the chat window. And please be sure to stay for the virtual coffee hour at the end of the service so that you can visit with a small group who will welcome you. Our minister, the Reverend Kim Mason, will be back in the pulpit starting August 30th. Just a few points of orientation. The order of service, including the music notes in the yellow page of church news, is available on the link in your chat window, as well as on the church website and the e-news. If you did not receive the e-news, please comment in the chat box, and we will get in touch with you. We also want to remind you that recordings of our services with closed captioning are posted every Sunday afternoon on the church's YouTube channel. Please note that there will be no children's chapel during August, except for Sunday, August 23rd, when we will have our annual back to school RE program and worship service. If you have a child in the 9th through the 12th grades, the youth group will be meeting over in the Zoom tonight at 7 p.m. Look for details about the August 23rd program in future issues of the e-news. We are continuing to hold our weekly socially distant vigil in support of Black Lives Matter. Tonight, join us at 10 a.m. each Saturday in the intersection of Waterman Boulevard and Kings Highway near the church. More details are available in the e-news. We'd like to extend a special thank you to our virtual worship team this morning. Thanks to Pam Gephardt, who is serving as our producer this morning. Larry Dusenberry is on our chat monitor, and Sue Fazio is our video monitor. Please let George Grimm-Howell know if you're willing to serve in one of these roles on a future Sunday. Summer worship is a community effort. Now, since one of the important aspects of worship is being present in community, we invite you to take a moment and turn on your webcams and wave to each other. Just switch to gallery view so you can see everyone at once. We are keeping everyone muted, but please feel free to type your greetings in the Zoom chat box. Okay, so if you'll please turn off your webcams again, and feel free to return to speaker view. Welcome to this religious community where we affirm the dignity and freedom of all who enter. Here, we seek to live together in relationship and respect so that we may embrace and celebrate our differences. Our religious values invite us to a shared journey of truth and meaning. Sincerity and connection guide our religious community and call us into a deeper association with ourselves and the world. Welcome. We're glad you are part of our community this morning. Now, please enjoy our prelude, Andante Sestimino by Charles Marie Vidor, performed by our own organist, Earl Naylor.
My name is Michael Enter, and my pronouns are he, his, and I am proud to be a new member of your worship committee. Our opening words this morning come from Barbara Wells. O spinner, weaver of our lives, your loom is love. May we who are gathered here be empowered by that love to weave new patterns of truth and justice into a web of life that is strong, beautiful, and everlasting. Please join us in our opening hymn, our hymn of the month for August, number 169, We Shall Overcome.
Our chalice lighting words for today are from the UUA Leadership Council. With humility and courage born of our history, we are called as Unitarian Universalists to build the beloved community where all souls are welcome as blessings and the human family lives whole and reconciled. With this vision in our hearts and minds, we light our chalice.
My name is Ben Rosenzweig. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and I am the Director of Religious Education at First Unitarian Church of St. Louis. And today we are going to be reading Auntie Uncle, Drag Queen Hero by Ellie Royce and illustrated by Hannah Chambers with express permission from POW Kids Books. I love my Uncle Leo. He is good at math and he checks my numbers. He works in the city, checking other people's numbers. I love my Auntie Lota. She sings and dances with me. On weekends, she sings and dances with her drag queen friends. Sometimes Auntie Lota is Uncle Leo, and sometimes Uncle Leo is Auntie Lota. It's fun to have an auntie and an uncle who are the same person. One weekend, we went to see Auntie Lota and her friends sing and dance in a big parade. While we were watching them, something happened. Nobody saw it except Auntie Lota. And then everybody saw it. The mayor wanted to give Auntie Lota an award. He put an article in the paper and invited us to a special party. Oh dear, said Uncle Leo, who will accept the award? I want all my friends to come to the ceremony. Leo's friends from work have never met Lota, and they might be surprised to see her. But Lota saved the puppy and her friends are so excited for her. She just has to be there. I thought it over. Why can't you both accept the award, I said. I've never been both of me at the same time before, said Uncle Leo. That would call for a super fierce look. I'll help, I said. So we tried different outfits that were a little bit Leo and a lot Lota, a little bit Lota and a lot Leo, and a little bit of both. At last, the mix was just right. What do I call you now, I asked. How about Auntie Uncle, ladies first and all that, said Auntie Uncle. City Hall was full of people. Look, there are Leo's friends from work, I whispered. And there are Lota's friends. Oh dear, said Auntie Uncle, oh dear. I put my hand into Auntie Uncle's and squeezed it tight. For saving the lives of many innocent bystanders, at the risk of their own, we award this medal to Leo Lota Bigheart, said the mayor. City Hall was very, very quiet and very, very still. Oh dear, said Auntie Uncle, very, very softly. Suddenly, Lota's friends began to clap. Leo's friends started to cheer. They stood up, clapping and cheering together. Then everyone stood up, clapping and cheering. After the presentation, Leo's friends met Loda's friends. They were very polite. I thought that perhaps they wouldn't like each other until Auntie Uncle showed them the medal for bravery. After that, they clapped and cheered again. They drank tea and ate cake. They talked about math and singing and how much they liked my Auntie Uncle. I love Uncle Leo. He still checks my numbers. I love Auntie Loda. She still sings and dances with me. But I think maybe I love my Auntie Uncle the best of all. The end.
Hello, my name is George Grimm-Howell, he, him, his, and I currently serve this congregation as the chair of your worship committee. Your presence, your love can inspire, can heal, and transform. One of the ways that we do that as a faith community is through the sharing of joys and sorrows. Let us pause now in a moment of quiet reflection. This morning, we extend heartfelt sympathy to Doris Pree, whose sister, Carol, recently passed away. And we continue to hold Dolores Blame in our hearts as she soon begins treatment for a tumor that inhibits her ability to communicate. Dolores is back at Missouri Baptist for tests and evaluation before starting treatment. Cards are welcome, and that is room 305 at MOBAP. I now invite you to type any sorrows you are experiencing into the group chat box. We hear sorrow for a friend who has lost his spouse. We hear loving concern about Dolores's health challenges. We remember a friend who is dealing with mental illness, but still putting up a valiant fight. We wish them strength. We remember friends and relatives in a nearby state who experienced damage from the horrible storm last week. They are safe, thankfully. Sorrow for everything people are going through with COVID-19 and the political and personal divisions that it's causing. We remember a mother who is struggling emotionally over COVID-19 lockdown in assisted living. We remember those struggling with a neurotoxin which is spreading through someone's house. We hold a concern for the integrity of the postal system and mail-in voting. We hold all of these sorrows with tenderness and compassion. May they be lighter because they are shared. And as a community, we also share our joys with one another. And I'm happy to announce that Allison Lamott and Steve Smitowitz just celebrated their 32nd wedding anniversary. Congratulations. You must have gotten married when you were 15. I now invite you to type any other joys that you wish to share into the group chat. We remember our son who recently graduated with his PhD in geochemistry. Very impressive. And more wishes for happy anniversary for Steve and Allison. We have joy for a brother who has continued to recover from COVID-19. A joy today for an aunt who is turning 99 this week. Congratulations to Emily from church, I guess congratulations from all of us for her retirement from SIUE. And someone's mother today is having her 98th birthday. What a joy. Another congratulations for Max. A wish for happiness during retirement, a recent retirement after 44 years. We remember a friend who is celebrating 1 year of sobriety, the longest so far. We remember a new baby girl in the family. A joy for how amazing Ben looks this morning. An aunt who came to visit and shared roasted pork loin fresh off the grill. Gratitude for being filled and nourished by these summer services and for all those who make it possible. And I second that. Joy for our kids who are safely enjoying the outdoors, biking, rafting, and hiking. Another shout out of support for Ben. Thankfulness for the great leadership team at First Unitarian who are in the midst of our annual leadership retreat this morning. Yes, we know they are with us in spirit. We hold these joys with gladness and celebration. May we remember that they are magnified because they are shared. With the many joys and sorrows remaining in our hearts and minds, please join me in our sung prayer, Spirit of Life.
My name is Lynn Murphy from Elliott Chapel. I'm proud to be part of this service again. We've held this joint service for many, many years. I'm proud again. Our blessing today is called Blessed Are the Queer by Helen Rose. Blessed are the wanderers seeking affirmation. Blessed are the worshipers freeing from closets, pulpits, pews, and hardship. Blessed are the lovers of leaving family and familiarity, leaving tables where love is not being served. Blessed are those who stay. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, for they will be satisfied. Blessed are the queer disciples of truth, living, breathing, sacred reflections of divine love. Blessings. And my pronouns are she, her, and hers. Thank you.
This is a poem that was written during my spiritual formation class in seminary. It's inspired by the poem Self-Portrait by Mark Bamuti Joseph. And my version of it is called White Self-Portrait. I come from a monoculture, one crop, one religion, one way of loving. Isolation of the farmland Midwest married pale ethnicity to beget the world of white farms with red barns. Fundamentalism then married in to keep the culture running, white and hetero made in God's image. Then the cousins came to stay, heterosexism and masculinity. There's only one way to be a man, and that is to hunt rabbits and women. These kissing cousins begat bullying and his big brother intolerance, because that's what bullies become when they grow up. They own the land, they own the church, they own the culture without color, and then pretty soon the need to keep the monoculture pure demands silence to hide real questions. No room for listening, no room for dykes and fags and those of whom we shall not speak. No room for boys who love disco and dress up. Instead, the patriarchy of pioneers called out uncles and cousins and drove diversity deep underground. Keep the rows straight. Keep the yield predictable. Bring the poisons, bring the blades. Kill the weeds.
The author of this very short poem is identified by the initials SRW. For years, they told the moon the sun was his soulmate. How romantic, they said, that she died every night to let him breathe. Oh, how brave it was when he told them that he was in love with the sea.
My now started in crestfallen confusion. It was sometime in the afternoon in my childhood home. I must have been 4 or 5 years old. I put on my sister's ballerina tutu. She must have been at school. I put on my mother's deep red lipstick. She must have been in the living room. For about 10 seconds, I was me, the real, budding, blossoming me, and then it was gone. I bounded into where my mother was working. She looked concerned. Memory gets distorted, but all I remember now is her saying, "Don't do that." And so I didn't. Fast forward some 30 odd years where I came bounding into our very own church a year or so ago, with now my eyes all done. And someone, again, in a place of authority said, "Don't do that." And so I didn't for some time. But look at where I am and where we are now. I'm doing it, I'm going to keep doing it, and I'm never going to stop.
It is the mission of the First Unitarian Church of St. Louis to provide a hospitable sanctuary in this time and place for people to seek sources of spiritual strength and to encourage people in the church and in the world to work for love, decency, tolerance, and justice. In this time of pandemic, the church continues in that mission. Periodically, we donate our proceeds of our offering to a worthy organization that is working for love and justice in St. Louis. Our offering this morning will be dedicated to the Metro Trans Umbrella Group, or MTUG for short. MTUG is working to bring together the community of people who are trans, non-binary, genderqueer, androgynous, intersex, and allies in the St. Louis metro area through community, visibility, advocacy, and education. We are not passing a physical plate, but there are many ways to donate, including by mail, online, or with our Text to Give program. Please give generously in support of this important and life-saving work. Good morning. This is my story of coming out, and I thought I would like to share it with you. I had just participated in the St. Louis Gay Pride Parade. It was either the very first one or second, I really can't remember. I do remember that participants painted their faces so that they were not recognizable should the media photograph them. In those days, you were of immediate danger and/or harassment and could lose your job, home, and even your family. If you had children, the stakes were even higher. We marched down Euclid Avenue, down Linda Boulevard, and to the steps of Washington University. A few speeches, a release of balloons, and everyone went home. That was it. No dancing, nothing else. I was in my first relationship at the time, and being full of the Pride experience, I decided to let my parents know. Of course, I had to make a really big production of it and invited myself to dinner at my parents'. I announced my sister was coming with me. She already knew, and I needed her for moral support should things go sour. I was petrified. After dinner, my mom insisted that I tell them this news of mine. I informed my parents that I was proud of who I am and that they deserved to know that their only son is gay. They looked at each other, and then my mom said, "Thank God." She thought I was moving out of the state. According to my mom, no child of hers moves far from the roost. She explained that they knew of my gayness and just waited for me to make the move. I realized this coming out experience is unique, and many of my friends did not have such a wonderful experience. But something was happening in the 80s during this time. My friends were getting sick. My partner of 7 years got quite ill, and I had to take him to the ER. The next day, he was diagnosed with full-blown AIDS and died just 4 months later. By the early 90s, all my friends had died except for one, which I'm happy to say is still alive and healthy. COVID is not my first pandemic experience. Like back then, I have been experiencing flashback thoughts of who's next? Will it be me? Someone I love? It could be. There is really no one-time coming out. It seems to be done during your lifetime. I'm doing it again in front of you. When my partner was diagnosed in 1987, I got tested. The doctor came in and told me the grim news and said I should get my affairs in order. He promptly made his exit and left me alone in the room. To this day, I still don't know why I'm still here. Survivor's guilt is real and can be overwhelming at times. My name is Mike Lunter, and I've been HIV positive for over half my life. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Hankinson, and my pronouns that I go by are she and her, and I'm a long-term friend of First U and a member of Elliot. And I participated in the LGBTQ covenant group at First U, which reawoken my connection to First U. This reading is called Go Boldly. It's a blessing by Jean M. Olson. May you be brave enough to expose your aching woundedness and reveal your vulnerability. May you speak your deepest truths, knowing that they won't change as you do. May you sing the music within you, composing your own melody, playing your song with all your heart. May you draw, paint, sculpt, and sew, showing the world your vision. May you write letters, poetry, biography, slogans, graffiti, the great novel, laying bare your words to love and hate. And may you love even though your heart breaks again and again. And until the end of your days, may your life be filled with possibilities and courage.
I'm Betsy Grimm-Howell, and my pronouns are she or they. I'm a member of the Welcoming Congregation Committee. I don't know how many of you are fans of StoryCorps on NPR like me, but if you are, perhaps you heard the story last month by a 90-year-old man named Ken Phelps and his daughter. Ken just recently came out to his daughter as gay. He told her about a man that he had fallen in love with back in 1960. He then described how one morning, sitting in church, he realized the hopelessness of being his true self in that time and place. So he chose a life of pretending to be straight, and he let the young man he described as the love of his life disappear from his life. Now, 60 years later, he has finally told his story. I thought I was doing great, he told his daughter, until I came out and I started to discover what it means to be free. I can imagine there were some people who heard that story and wondered why. After all this time, why did Ken Phelps tell his daughter about his sexual orientation? That fact surely doesn't affect her life. She's my age. And he risks alienating her. It's too late for him to make a different choice and reclaim his life as a gay man. When I heard the story of Ken Phelps, I'll admit I had that reaction. Why? But then I thought of Harvey Milk, this country's first out gay politician. I'm tired of the conspiracy of silence, Harvey Milk said. So I'm going to talk about it. And I want you to talk about it. Milk believed that it was the silence that allowed stereotypes and prejudices about gay, lesbian, and bisexual people to be accepted and socially acceptable for so long, and to injure so many members of those communities. I would like to see every gay doctor come out, every gay lawyer, every gay architect stand up and let the world know. That would do more to end prejudice overnight than anybody could. Pride is the embodiment of Harvey Milk's message, and he was right. Large numbers of LGBTQ+ people having the courage to come out has moved our society toward greater acceptance, understanding, and freedom for them. Ken Phelps did not grow up in today's world. It took 90 years for him to feel safe enough to tell his truth, but he finally let his daughter see her real father. It's never too late to defy the conspiracy of silence and be your true self. Back in my childhood, the 1960s and 70s, the conspiracy of silence reigned supreme. I knew many gay and lesbian people. I just didn't know the words gay or lesbian because we did not discuss things like that. One such figure in my early life worked as the librarian in the small Missouri town where I grew up. The man's name was Parker Stokes, and since I was a huge book nerd and practically lived in the children's library, we saw a lot of each other. Mr. Stokes was a silver-haired man whose reading glasses hung on a chain around his neck, and he had a collection of cardigans I remember him wearing year-round. And Mr. Stokes knew my taste in books, so he would set aside books for me that he thought I might like. I remember the first time he gave me a book from the grown-up section of the library with a little conspiratorial wink, and it felt like I'd been given a secret window into adulthood. Going to see Mr. Stokes at the library was the highlight of each week for several years. Being a nosy sort of kid, I asked my mom a lot of questions about Mr. Stokes. Where did he live? Why did he wear all of those sweaters? Was he married? Did he have children? She simply replied that he was a confirmed bachelor. Gradually, I came to realize that the phrase confirmed bachelor brought conversation to a halt. There was apparently nothing more to be said about that. And eventually I realized there was a confirmed bachelor in my own family. My grandfather's older brother, my Uncle Pete, lived in Providence, Rhode Island in a men's club. As far as I know, no one in my family ever visited him there, and he rarely visited St. Louis. I only remember meeting him a few times at Christmas. On one of those holiday visits, he gave me a beautifully carved leather bookmark, which I treasured. Uncle Pete was legally blind, and I remember asking my grandmother how he managed by himself. She explained that Uncle Pete had a valet who took care of him. I think that's the only time I ever heard the word valet used outside of a novel. And it was only after my Uncle Pete died when I was in college, and I learned that he had left a large part of his estate to his valet, that I realized that my Uncle Pete was gay. No one in my family ever expressed actual hostility toward homosexuality. I would have to say, in fact, that my parents showed nothing but kindness to the gay people in our lives. But there was that silence. I would call it homophobia because being gay was taboo, too scary even to discuss. Enforced silence equates to shame, and I got that message loud and clear as a child. Harvey Milk was right. Breaking the conspiracy of silence begins with LGBTQ plus people speaking their truth. But everyone else has to break the silence too. Everyone else needs to be explicit about acknowledging and welcoming people's marginalized identities. Often when we're confronted with people who define themselves in a way that's different from us, we react by saying, but we're all basically the same. This is our well-meaning attempt to emphasize those places where our experiences of being human overlap. But I think it also stems from some discomfort about the difference being pointed out and a desire to get the conversation back on the ground of mutuality. I think of the phrase, love is love, in this context. Love is love is a slogan that popped up on t-shirts and signs everywhere during the struggle to achieve marriage equality. The idea that same-sex couples just want exactly what opposite-sex couples want made people in the heterosexual majority feel safe. Audre Lorde, the Black lesbian activist and author, observed that too often we pour the energy needed for recognizing and exploring difference into pretending those differences are insurmountable or that they do not exist at all. The differences do exist, and they're not insurmountable if we acknowledge them and talk about them. And we means everyone. Can you imagine a world in which gender identity and gender expression and sexual orientation were discussed as openly as where you went to college or what your hobbies are? That's the world I want to live in. And I'm encouraged by my own experience to believe that it is possible. When I graduated from high school in 1980, the vocabulary to describe gender identity did not even exist. I know because I began seeing a therapist in my freshman year of college. And in her office, I had the first of many frustrating encounters with mental health professionals about my gender nonconformity. Only in the last few years have I been able to look back at those experiences and realize what was going on in those therapy sessions. Why I got asked on so many occasions whether I was happy being a woman. why I was encouraged to get more comfortable with my femininity by wearing makeup, etc., etc. By the way, I should point out that I wasn't even seeking therapy for reasons related to my gender or sexuality. But by being completely honest with my therapists, I painted a picture of myself as a person who does not think of herself as a woman. I described myself as a human in a woman's body. To some of my therapists, that made me a lesbian. To others, it meant that I had gender dysphoria and that I actually wanted to be male. I knew that neither of those things was true. So I lost a lot of faith in therapy, and it would be decades before I sought out any counseling again. My biggest problem in adolescence and early adulthood was the feeling of being profoundly different and alone in my weirdness. Needless to say, my experiences with therapy just confirmed my belief in that aloneness. It would take me another 30 plus years to find out that a whole community of non-binary people exists, and there were many names for what I feel. Some use the term gender nonconforming, and others say non-binary or genderqueer. It has taken me even longer to realize that coming out as non-binary or gender nonconforming is important. Not because it helps me personally, but because it breaks the conspiracy of silence. How different, how much less lonely my childhood would have been if I had known just one adult like me. If being openly non-binary means that some young person can recognize themselves in me, then I'm happy to wear my nonconformity on my sleeve. Being genderqueer is one bit of good I can do in this world. Finally, I want us all to consider the fact that talking about how different we are from one another does not divide us. It simply widens the circle of our beloved community and lets others know that they too belong here. I will end with another wonderful observation by Audre Lorde. When we define ourselves, when I define myself, the place in which I am like you and the place in which I am not like you, I'm not excluding you from the joining, I'm broadening the joining. So may it be. Happy Pride. And now, please join hands in spirit and sing together our closing hymn, number 121, We'll Build the Land.
We'll build a land where we find all the roads.
Today, this is Lynn Murphy again. Today's benediction I wrote for the special service. Let us honor. For freedom to be ourselves, our protest started at Stonewall. Since then, we continue to strive for equality. So let us honor all those among us who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, non-binary, or those still searching for their identity. We stand for love in all its expressions. We support each other. May the Spirit of life guide and bless us all on our spiritual journey.